Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. My name is Juan Vitas, and the purpose we're here is simply to get to know each other. I always say people do business who they know, like, and trust. And today we have Marc Mathys. How are you, Mark?
Very good. Thank you, Juan, for having me today.
Okay, thank you. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Mark from Montreal, Canada, and I have a company called Reset It, and what I do is I reset things that don't belong to you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So tell us about where did you grow up, and tell us where all it began, and tell us about your folks too.
Well, where I grew up, first of all, we immigrated here in Canada in 1960. My parents came from Belgium, and we immigrated into Toronto first, and after that, we moved to Montreal, Canada as well. So, we're Belgians. We like our beer and our French fries and do our stuff. And I grew up mostly in Toronto, young in Toronto, up until 13 years old, and the balance here in Montreal, where I studied. When I went to school, I was studying to be a cabinet maker. So when I finished my schooling, I started in the cabinet industry, and I started making furniture.
Okay, excellent. Wow. And tell us about your father. What did your father do for a living?
Well, my father's a combustion engineer. He worked many years as a combustion engineer, and the last job that he had, my father became an artist, and he wanted to live on doing his painting, and he started painting about 18 years ago. He started in Montreal. He was doing sketch watercolors here in Montreal, and he found the weather in Montreal to do as an artist. It was too rough for him, so he built a beautiful camper, and he took it all the way down to Key West, and he was selling his paintings on the boardwalk at Key West, and he did that for 18 years, which is just beautiful.
Wow. So I'm sure he was very popular. Everybody must have knew him.
Yeah, he
Wow.
did. He did very, very well on being. He's well known. So.
Wow. Wow. So tell us, when you were little, what did you want to be? Did you have any like role models, or did you have any inspiration or hobbies, or what did you?
Well, the biggest role model for me growing up was my grandfather. I think my grandfather taught me a lot of good lessons, which I still use today. I'll give you an example. Is that when he was painting the house, he asked me to give him a hand. Excuse me, painting the house, and I was 8, 9 years old, and you're painting, you're doing like this, and he goes, no, Mark. Take your brush, tap it once, tap it twice, and just stroke it and live that moment of painting. And that's what I get. That's what I get to do today, is live in the moment when you're doing things.
Live in the moment. Wow.
Yeah, live in the moment. And that's where it all started, really. It's about living that moment, being present, doing the things that you're doing. He gave me a great lesson in life. He says, as a cabinet maker, he goes, when you go into a shop, what you're going to do is take a look when you go in, take a look at the oldest person there. Make friends with that person. Bring him coffee, bring him cigarettes if you have to. He will show you so many things that you will never learn in school. And I've always did that I always did that. If it was in the cabinet industry or the sales, excuse me, in the sales part of it, I always learn from other people.
It's interesting you talk about that, because I know in Western where they tend to have more of the older people. They respect the older people, in the Eastern, and we're here, we in the West, we just put them in nursing homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's really interesting how they respect the elder, so to speak. That they have more wise in years in some cultures. So it's really interesting about that.
Yeah, we can learn some great lessons from our grandparents, which I learned how to cook with my grandmother. It's just beautiful.
Well, yeah, these are passions that they had.
Hmm.
We have different passions. And did you have any other passions or hobbies? Did you like when you were little, or when you were younger?
Well, I love the outdoors. I love camping, swimming. I love going to the beach, be in the water. If I find a day that my schedule is a little bit shorter for one day, I'll be somewhere in a lake here in Quebec. So taking my time to take a swim. So I really, really enjoy the outdoors.
Okay, definitely. And tell us, what was your what did you go to school for?
Well, I was a cabinet maker. I went to go as a cabinet maker. I did 4 years in the trade school to be cabinet maker.
And what was your what made you get into that? Like, did you work with your hands? You said, right?
I think it came from my grandfather. My grandfather was a plumber. I think he was more, on that side, manual side. And I think it was just more a natural way of doing things. And, he taught me how to solder. He told me a lot. He taught me a lot about manual labor. And I just love doing that. I never knew anything than that. So it was a good place to be.
Do you do anything with your hands nowadays? Or I know we get, did you
Well,
get
I
into anything?
used, not anymore, but my daughter moved into a new place and she needed a new kitchen, and then I said, okay, well, I'll design because I used to design as well, and I designed it for her and we built it for her and I installed it for her. So, and when my son opened up his restaurant and during the pandemic, we did all the renovations together, so all the flooring, all this stuff, it's all painting and stuff like that. So. But no, I don't do that anymore.
I see. And tell us, what was your last job that you had, your regular 9 to 5 job? What was your last 9 to 5 job?
Well, I was a sales rep for a manufacturer here in Montreal, which had subsidiaries all over North America, and I would go into these distributors and teach them about the manufacturing part of what we did, and it's funny is that I used to represent the wood industry, where I was a cabinet maker. I was working with wood. Now I was selling the wood to the cabinet guys. So I had that link. It was just beautiful teaching other people what the manufacturer can do and cannot do. And I was teach us in the States and in Canada.
And what decided to go on your own, and like what made you go on your own? What was
Well,
the decision?
the to go on my own, I've been always during the where I was working from 9 to 5, I had a side hustle, which I was teaching what I was doing today, but on a lot slow volume. And when the pandemic hit 3 years ago, I decided to make that switch. We couldn't work on the road anymore, so it took me outside, and I said, okay, this is the chance to make that switch and do rebrand my company, do my stuff online, and I've been doing it since.
Oh, wow. And did you have any were you were you scared, nervous, or I mean, when you went on your own, did you have any reservations?
Not really. One is that when you're teaching what I teach of being in that state of presence of who you are, it just becomes a choice to do what you want to do. So it just became a choice. I've learned a lot, on the website, on the, getting my feet wet with all the networking and this and that. But up to date, it's been fantastic. So.
So I hear in the WoW, I like to leave the golden rule, leave something behind for members that that it's going to help them become better people. Is there any information you would like to share that can help people become better business people? I like to call this the golden nugget. So if you want to leave something behind for them.
Well, I think for anybody that's in business, we gotta take a look at deep inside of us as an entrepreneur, to take a look at what we think personally what an entrepreneur is and how to resonate being who we are with other people. At the end of the day, like everything else, People will always buy people. They won't buy your services, they'll buy you first. So I think being present in the actions you're doing, that is the first step, is to, whatever you're going to do, is to be present with yourself and present with other people, listen to other people. That's the best thing.
Absolutely. And I know you had spoken about networking, and I think who had referred you to WoW?
Craig,
Craig. Okay.
Craig sent me
Yes.
to WoW, and
Yes.
since I'm there, it's been amazing.
Yes. Tell us about the networking.
Well,
Besides WoW, I mean, I know that WoW is. I know that you enjoy WoW. It's a little bit different from any other networking group. So tell us about some other networking groups that you belong to, and what have you been your experience in other, being in the networking, your sense of being in the networking world.
I'll piggyback on what I was saying before on, is that when you're doing networking, I do a lot of network. I'm involved with a lot of different groups. I get invited to a lot of the groups around the world, not just in the US and Canada, but in Australia, in the UK. Since I rebranded my company, now I'm international. So I do a lot of networking. And what happens is that once you're in the networking and you're doing your networking, when you're present in the actions you're doing, people will listen. And that's my biggest takeaway about doing networking. Do your stuff that you need to do for yourself, and you'll see your network will grow. And that's just a beautiful place to be in. Is that as long you're doing you're present in the actions you're doing, people will be there for you.
Got it. Got it. And so tell us about a little bit about your services that you offer, and what are some of the things that you offer.
Well, my company is called Reset It, and it started about 2 decades ago. Even before the pandemic, when I started, like we were talking before, I was doing this as a side hustle, and it started about 18 years ago. I had a problem with my health. I was diagnosed with, I have sleep apnea, which I stopped breathing 54 times out of the hour. So I was never sleeping. And when they gave me my machine to regulate my air intake, I slept 8 hours for the first time. And when I woke up that morning, I felt this energy inside me, which I never felt before. And when I was shaving in the morning, I didn't recognize the guy in front of me. Something happened in my brain. By sleeping, there's something that went into my brain. And what happened after that is that I started studying the brain. I wanted to find out what happened to me, because I was a completely different person. Just by being, in that getting my sleep, I was a completely different person. So I studied the brain, how the brain works, and it brought me into two fields, which is the quantum energy field and the neuroscience field. And I started learning about what happened to me, and how we can teach this to other people. And I found a way to teach people how to reset the things that don't belong to them. Same thing that I had before, my thoughts that I had that I wasn't good enough, and all the other stuff, all the conditioning that I had was gone for me. So when you're in that state of putting things in your mind that doesn't belong to you, well, you send out the information to other people, that information. So that information comes in, and what happens in that state of presence is that you resonate an energy that's completely different. So this is what I teach. I teach people how to reset the things that don't belong to them, the things that are stopping you from doing what you do. You've got 50 to 60,000 thoughts per day, and these are all based on your programs, your conditionings, and your belief. Once you reset, the only thing that's left over is you. And I do this, and we do this now because I have teachers in the US and Canada now, that we teach this in 2 sessions long, and that's all you need. 2 sessions with us. With the Reset It program, 2 sessions, and you have everything that you need. Why? Because everything else is already inside of you. You just got to reset the things that don't belong to you. And this is what I teach. Business people, personal, whatever people are going through, it's all based on their program and conditioning. And that's what I get to do.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Mark. And please tell our listeners, what's the best way to contact you?
Best way to contact me is on my website. Is at resetit-it.ca.
And all right, thank you so much. And if
Thank
you'd
you
like
for
to,
having me.
yeah, thank you. If you'd like to become a member of Winning on Wednesday, please go to www.winningonwednesday.com and sign up as a first-time guest and follow the directions. And I hope to see you in the next meeting. Thank you so much.